3 years ago, and you had already done you worked in the like championship for triathlon at the time, right?
Yeah.
And as a doctor, I was like, man, this guy's young. He's in great shape. I'm like, you got to come work out with us old guys.
Yeah.
And,
keep you feeling young.
Crushes me, but there's a couple guys keep you on your toes in our group.
Every now and again.
I think, but you don't have to work quite as hard as them. You can kind of waltz in.
That's a really great excuse to use my age. It's not really that fair, though.
I snuck that in there a little bit.
You're not going to get past me.
All right.
I see what you're doing.
He knows what I'm doing. But I'm excited to have you on because I really want to talk about the wellness place. I want to talk about your business because as a client, I've seen a ton of good things that have come out of it since then. And you're right here in Sarasota, right over off of, I would call that the UTC area.
Yeah.
Right.
Just east of 75.
Lakewood Ranch, UTC, Sarasota.
Waterside.
That's it. Waterside. Exactly. And one of the first things that we did, I was with another chiropractor because I had a family plan, and it wasn't the type of chiropractic care that I traditionally like. So I've been a firm believer of chiropractic for probably 15 plus years. I've been seeing a chiropractor on a regular basis. I got a great friend who actually is an alma mater with your college, Life College.
Yep.
And he's up in Worcester. Ian Simpson, shout out to you if you're watching this.
Hopefully.
Like hearts and smiley faces.
Yep, lots of likes.
Yeah, lots of likes. But he was the first one that really brought me into chiropractic on a regular level, probably in 2009. And it changed my life because I've had a lot of injuries I've been hit by a car at 60 miles an hour walking in the back. Crashed. And I think even you said, it looks like, I don't know if you have scoliosis, but it's because of my muscles are probably also mashed up.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with those injuries.
I'm not happy now, but I get through them. But I think we started with not even that part of your practice, but more of the health side, which I love because you're not just a traditional office where you just get the chiropractic care. It's encompasses your whole body in a sense, starting with your health. And we did a food allergy test?
Yep, food allergy testing.
All right. And I didn't like Connor for a few months, but after that test, I like him now a lot because I feel 100 times better. Yeah. And even just showing the pictures of the bloating. Yeah. Right? That caused from the inflammation of what was causing it with some foods that I would have never imagined because I technically didn't feel sick. Like I wasn't like physically ill, but I was probably sluggish. I was bloated. Didn't feel that good. But you show me the pictures of what I should be, and I was like, man, I'm really not that fat. That's just bloated, right? And I mean, we eliminated, I think, and we're due for another one. But let's talk about what that consists of because, I mean, I found out I couldn't eat black pepper. I couldn't eat black raspberries, just things that I would have thought were good for me. Yeah. And eggs, wheat. So pretty much everything that's in everything, I had to kind of cut out for a little bit. But it changed my life because I cut out all that stuff. I was religious with it. And walk us through the process of what you do when you have a client come in and some of the transformations that you've seen over the last 3 years since you've been here. Yeah.
Well, like you said, so we do a lot more than a traditional chiropractor would do, where we're just adjusting you pain-based things like that. But it's not that far away from chiropractic. It really truly encompasses all of chiropractic. Yeah. A lot of people think that chiropractic is just back pain, neck pain, just getting adjusted, popping bones, rack them and crack them, that whole thing. Yeah. But the chiropractic philosophy was founded on the idea that your body was designed to function normally, and it's our body's response to the environment, stress on our body, that causes all the symptoms that we feel. So those symptoms are just our body's adaptation and response to the environment. And so the chiropractic philosophy is basically, we have the 3T approach, which is thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So those are the 3 types of stresses on your body that are going to cause dysfunction. So traumas, accidents, injuries, getting hit by a car going 60 miles an hour. We've got, obviously in your case, you got a long list of traumas going on. And that's what's mainly addressed through chiropractic care, is a physical adjustment where a lot of times we're correcting those physical traumas on the body, which is awesome because we get really great results for a lot of things with that. However, a lot of times chiropractic misses out on the other 2 T's, those thoughts and the toxins, right? And so when we're looking at things like food allergy testing, we're looking deep into the toxins. Food allergies, that's a chemical response within your body. We're triggering an immune system issue. And like you said, it leads to a lot of bloating, inflammation, things like that.
Yeah.
And we know that all disease starts at some level with inflammation. And that's not really up for debate.
That's huge.
Yeah. Inflammation is everything, right? So we have to look at what are we doing in our life that's creating an inflammatory response.
Correct.
So when we're looking at food allergy testing, we're looking at what foods are we eating, not the anaphylactic type of food allergies, like you eat a peanut, throat closes up, break out in hives. Like you obviously knew you didn't have any of those.
Correct.
It's the other type of reactions, the sensitivities or intolerances. Well, we say that, we're really just downgrading what that response is actually doing in our body, because the reality is we're creating cellular damage and we're creating an inflammatory response. And if we know that inflammation causes disease and we don't want to have disease, then the question is just how much inflammation are you okay with creating? So we look at a food allergy test.
Correct.
That's the biggest thing, is we got to start with, let's remove the stressors from your body, reduce inflammation, and then we can help support your body's ability to heal beyond that.
Okay, so I have a question on that, because I'm a simple person.
Yeah.
I keep things in my brain. When I think of something, I always want to find a solution. So when I think of the inflammation and I think of what causes some of this, these stressors, in my mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel as though, say it's chicken, and that comes up as a marker. At some point, there was some kind of trauma. And at that time of trauma, in the beginning of the trauma, you ate chicken. Okay. And your body identified that chicken with trauma. Is that part of the continuous? I know it sounds crazy, but I heard this before in the past, and I didn't know if there was something related to that.
So what you just said is you're a simple person, and you just went like deep into like the biology of belief type of thing.
Correct.
Where we have an emotional trauma, and emotional trauma can be felt physically. A lot of times I have a lot of patients that have autoimmune conditions that we're working on, and it was purely an emotional trauma that triggered an autoimmune condition that has all of these physical responses now. So could there have been a point in your time where you had an emotional type of a trauma that then caused a physiological response in your body? And then we have this kind of waterfall effect that happens after that. 100% that could happen, because the body's amazing at adapting and responding. Now, can I sit there and say, this is the exact biochemical and physiological response that happened? No. It's
hard to do that.
But we see things like that a lot, where it's two things that seem completely unrelated, but they are connected because your body is extremely interconnected.
And it responded to it. So by, and I guess where I want to go with this is by doing the food allergy test, right? And identifying whatever those markers are. And then taking the time, whether, I don't know how long it should be till you check another time, but say it's 6 months or a year, you could possibly reset that triggering effect.
Yeah, 100%.
Is really what the goal is to do. Because if you love eggs, maybe you can re-trigger it and you won't be, I mean, eggs is one I think that most people are anyways all the time.
Around for a while,
that might stick around, but some of these other things, it might pass through time because your body isn't identifying that through some sort of trauma. Is it?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, and I'm my own personal example of that, because when the first time I had my food allergies checked, I had 25. So I had eggs, I had chia seeds, I had tomatoes and yeast and like all these things that I ate all the time. Yeah. And after a year, I rechecked. So typically we'll recheck in about a year. That gives your body time to kind of adapt and reset. And I had avoided them really good. It was right when I was first getting into the wellness way, and I was my own patient at first.
Oh yeah.
So I went from 25 to 22. Okay. And then what happened was, we're business owners, and there's a lot of stress that comes along with business. And we got past that I love everything about what I'm doing phase to the shoot, now I got to grind and hustle, and I'm stressed, and all these things are happening all at once, and I'm not taking care of myself. And I rechecked my food allergies, and I went from 22 to 28.
Wow.
So it's like, shoot, how did I go backwards? I've been, I'm supposed to be the person who's the ideal fitness, health, all these things, and I just went backwards. And it was the emotional stress that I was neglecting.
Correct.
Right? So I was avoiding my food allergies. I was taking a bunch of supplements. I was working out all the time, but it was the emotional stress. And I actually saw more food allergies as a result of that.
No, I think I probably, if I would have did that test last year, I mean, we did the half Ironman together last year.
Yeah.
And for those of you watching our industry in the mortgage real estate industry, it's been a pretty stressful 2 years, rate driven and all that stuff. And I never noticed, I never paid attention, let's put it that way, to some of the things that triggered me. And what I experienced last year with the race, where I trained, if more than I even did the year before when we did the half Ironman, I couldn't lose weight. I couldn't cut weight. I couldn't sleep right. My whole body, my blood work was way out of whack. I think most people don't realize the effects of stress on what it can do to everything. Never mind just your food allergies, but even your tightness in your muscles, everything. I think it has a major effect. What can people do? Because obviously you're not going to, in my case, I can't make the mortgage rates go down, right? I can't, there's things I can't control, right? And I'm going to still be in somewhat of an environment, but what are the things that somebody listening or someone even like myself can do to avoid or mitigate that stress level in a sense to where you won't get some of those other side effects that roll, like yourself. You went from 24 to 28. Even if you stayed at 24, you would have been ahead of the game, right? So what are some of the things that you guys do to help people the most that you can, or suggest, I should say, for people to do?
So that's why I really love our approach, right? It's the 3 T's. It's not the 1 T. And it gives us so much room to kind of look at all these different aspects of life. What you just described was that you were training for a half Ironman. Huge amount of physical stress. Even if every other thing in your life is perfect and you're doing all the perfect things, training for an Ironman or a half Ironman is more physical stress than what you should be putting on your body. Our bodies can't adapt to that in a healthy way, regardless of the other stresses we have going on in our life. And I talk a lot about how exercise can be an outlet. So we have all these stresses that are just all drops in the bucket. And the symptoms we start to feel like on race day for you last year is the bucket overflowing. And it's the culmination of all these stresses that we've had in our life. And so then we have all these other things that we do as stress outlets, which is prayer, it's meditation, it's breath work, it's journaling, it's exercise, it's all these other things that we can do that are just poking holes in the bucket, trying to drain the bucket. And so exercise is a big thing that we can do to remove stress. I personally, when I train for half Ironmans and Ironmans, there's a lot of time that you're with your thoughts and in your own head. I don't think of myself as a very stressed out person, but part of that is because I run by myself, swimming by yourself, biking by yourself. Even if you're doing those things with other people, it's an outlet for your mental stress. But what we want to be careful of is that those outlets are not actually just feeding back into the bucket. Because exercise can be a very good outlet, but too much exercise can just be a huge stressor on our body. So the situation you're describing is that you're training for an Ironman, you're doing a lot of exercise and physical activity, which is good, but you're doing too much of it.
Correct.
And then you've got all this emotional stress going on because you've got a family, you've got kids that are going to college, you've got a job where mortgage rates are unpredictable, and you've got people who are unhappy with you, but you have no control over that. You're just feeling the burden of that. So now you have all these mental stresses. And so the physical stress is a choice. We want to do that. Obviously, life is full of choices, and we have to decide what's worth it. And for you wanted to do that, right? So that's a goal. So it wouldn't be fair for me to say, don't do that.
I didn't have a choice, Connor. I had to eat.
You did.
I don't have to eat, but my kids have to eat.
Well, for the half Ironman. Right?
Oh, half Ironman.
That was your choice. Now, should you have been doing an overtraining exercise, a ton of physical stress, when you also had the emotional stresses?
No.
And usually the emotional stresses are the ones we can't get rid of. We've had patients that have gotten divorced. They've quit their jobs. They've moved out of houses. But that's not usually the best first line job. So we have to look at these other things. That's why looking at food allergies is super important, because that's a chemical stress and you have control over
You can
that.
Control what you ingest.
So if you can't control the physical stress and you can't control the mental stress, then we have to focus on what stresses can you control.
Correct.
And you got to be very diligent about the things that you can control. And that's also why we use supplements and things like that, because supplements can help make up the gap.
Correct.
And I know you were taking some stuff, but
I was,
the bucket was being filled faster than we were draining it. And that's kind of all culminates, and that's what you basically experience on race day.
What really happened was I wasn't taking any of your other supplements until after the race. Because I realized like I was in a dangerous spot. I mean, my heart rate was way over. I mean, everything was just out of sync. My whole body was out of sync. And then I started that, and I dropped, I think you do the no sugar. I actually started a month early. I think I did the no sugar
and you were really motivated because of what happened physically. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I was burning probably minimum of 2,000 calories to 5,000 calories a day. I was getting enough back in, but I wasn't losing weight. I hung out about 230 the whole year, and I just couldn't wrap my head around, why is this happening? What am I doing wrong? On top of it, I'm getting into work at 9 where I like to start at 8, and I'm like, I'm losing an hour of work. And I had all those different things going on. But since I've been taking those and doing the right thing with the food allergy stuff for over a year, like I haven't eaten. I regress. I not being completely honest. Once in a while, if I'm at a nice restaurant, I will have a piece of bread. Yeah. Or a half a piece of bread. But I figure.
But again, life's about choices.
Exactly.
You have to. There's a balance.
There's a balance, and there's 2 lanes on the highway for me. Yeah. There's no middle lane. I'm on this lane 100 miles an hour, or I'm not moving in this lane. I don't have whatever it is I do. So like if I do the diet thing, I feel guilty if I have a half a piece of bread. So it's not even a thing like I want to go gorge myself with it. Even when it comes to pizza, I scrape the cheese off and I eat the cheese. I don't even eat the bread. Because I go nuts when I do this stuff. But one other piece of talking about what you're doing, the unique thing, it's not really that unique to me because I work with my wife. Yeah. And I find it amazing. For those of you who watched the last episode, I had my wife on and we kind of talked about our journey. So I identify with you and Rachel in that sense because as awesome as it is, it has its good, it has its bad. It encompasses everything, but more good than bad. And I think in your case, it's probably pretty similar. She's the engine that runs everything, and she's the everything.
She's the boss.
You kind of come in and do what you got to do, but you're the marketer. You're the one that kind of drives the business into the business, and you still obviously do the work too. Yeah. But she probably runs the more operations. I'm thinking.
She deals with the staff a lot more. Yeah. Yeah. She's a lot busier seeing patients.
Okay.
That type of thing. Yeah.
So tell me about that relationship. Walk us through. I mean, because I want to get what we're going to stay tuned for this because I want to hear your journey of when you moved here and what brought you to this place and then opening up an office. I mean, you're year 2?
3.
You're 3 now. This is your 3rd year.
3 years a week from today.
3 years. That's right, man.
May 10th.
You forget it because I was there when you first opened the place.
Yeah, because we joined KBA before we even opened our office.
Before you even opened the office, it was brand new because we were working with the mortgage stuff with you guys were looking to buy. I mean, you guys jumped all in. You remind me of me because that's what
all gas, no brakes.
That's it. Let's go. We're buying houses. We're buying office. We're going to rebuild our office. So walk us through the relationship, where you come from in Ohio. What brought you all the way down here to Lakewood Ranch? Where did you meet Rachel? How did the relationship start in the journey of your business, being a business owner? Because you're not just a chiropractor. You're not just some guy that works for a chiropractic firm. You decided to be the entrepreneur who opened an office with your wife, and you got multiple different things that you're involved in. And, you're definitely an entrepreneurial mind, and you like that piece of it. So share with us.
So I'm originally from Ohio.
Yeah.
I hate the cold. So I had no interest in going back to Ohio. So that much I knew for sure when I was in chiropractic school. I always joke that every move has been further and further south because I'm from central Ohio. I went to school in southern Ohio. Okay. I went to chiropractic school in Atlanta. After Atlanta, in chiropractic school, which is where I met my wife, Rachel, at. Okay. I went and worked for 2 years in Panama City Beach for another doctor, and that was in a high-volume PI clinic. And we don't need to talk about that experience unless you want to later. Did not like that type of an environment. It's not what I liked doing.
You're there for the love of the health.
Yeah, it was a good job. I made money, and I was really just waiting for my wife to finish school. And so when we were getting close to that time period, it was really right around COVID time because March of 2020, she came down on her spring break, and then she really just never left because everything went virtual at that point. She had 9 months left in school. The last 6 are an internship. So the last 3 months of classes basically went online for her. Okay. So I was working down in Panama City, and she basically just moved in with me, which was honestly the biggest blessing we could have had because it put us together in a really critical time when we were trying to figure out our lives because we were just dating at that point. And so we decided we were going to open, right? And then it was the question of where are we going to open? And I always knew I wanted to be in Florida. I didn't always know that, but once I came to Florida,
you don't want to leave.
I don't want to leave, right?
Ever.
I still don't like the cold. The Panama City still gets cold in the winter.
Yeah,
it's about 10 degrees colder than Sarasota is. So we started looking south. We were looking St. Pete, Tampa, Sarasota, and really Tampa and St. Pete was where we were looking. And we just by happenstance drove to Sarasota one day. And I mean, you live in Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah.
You come here, you see it, and you're like,
it's make believe.
That's done.
Yeah.
It's it. It was paradise, right?
Yeah.
So it was the feeling we had when we came to Sarasota that was, this is home. We just knew.
So you came before the rest of your family came. I always thought it was the other way around. So
technically, Rachel's mom moved down here first.
Okay.
However, we had already decided this is where we were moving. Okay. And because of COVID and work and things like that, it just worked out that she was able to move down here.
Okay.
Some stuff happened up in New York. She decided, now's my time. If I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave now.
Perfect.
And so she knew we were coming down here. She came down here.
So technically it was your idea to come here. She just kind of she got here first, but you kind of led the way saying this is where we're going. She's like, okay, that sounds fun.
I'm the one on the podcast today. So that's the story we're going to stick with. So Kathy, if you're watching this, maybe you have a different story, but that's
Sorry,
okay.
Kathy.
But anyway, so either way, we did have Rachel's family that moved down here. Her mom moved down first, and her dad bought a place downtown.
Okay.
So that was very helpful because we were able to live with her mom for a couple of years while we were opening the business. But that's kind of how we came down here. My wife has a whole story of how she found the wellness way and functional nutrition and all that stuff.
So she found the wellness way. She kind of was. Yeah. You guys were you guys at any point just thinking of opening your own standalone, your name?
So I had always wanted to open my own office.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it out of school, but then just timing and situation and things that happened, I didn't pull the trigger right away. Yeah. And then, so that's when I decided I was going to, just get a job for a couple of years, figure stuff out. Yeah. By the time that we had decided that we were going to open together, she had found the Wellness Way. Okay. The Wellness Way did not have a student program when I was in school. All right. So I had no exposure to it. I had a nutrition minor when I was in college. I'd always loved nutrition. And the doctor I worked for 6 months before I graduated did a lot of functional nutrition stuff. Okay. And that kind of reignited my fuel of loving working with nutrition and working at a deeper level with things. Yeah. What he did was more muscle testing, more energetic. What the Wellness Way does is more lab testing, more scientific. And so both of them get really great results. A lot of people resonate with one thing more than the other. Yeah. So the question was not, am I going to go into that space? Am I going to open my own office? It's which path. Yeah. And that's where I became my own patient. I was my own patient the other way for a while. Correct. And then I started running my own labs and seeing what this approach was like and watching my wife's, Rachel's, kind of journey through that. Yeah. That's how we kind of decided to go this other route.
And you had the business, sort of speak in a box in a sense, where I know because I've owned businesses both ways. I've owned my own mortgage company for, 15 years. So I know what that looks like, like having to do everything. Where now when I work with a Fed bank, I still run my own business. I run my own P&L. However, there's pieces of it that corporate helps me with. Yep. The branding, the name brand, they're the ones that buy all the supplements and you buy it through them, the logistics side of it.
Yeah, which is very nice.
Keeps it easy, right? And fluid for you. Yeah. And it's a brand, so people have heard of it. I mean, I actually know that one of my, Kayla, who works for me, she came down, I think she even went to your place, and now she sees the wellness.
In Worcester, right?
Now she's in Worcester. She goes up to, and that's a new Wellness Way up there. She goes to
which
that.
Which is awesome. And we're able to also refer to people in other areas, which is amazing.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an awesome piece of it. So, when you talk about your Ironman experience, because I think what I like about going to somebody that actually practices what they preach, like, I don't know if you've ever been to a doctor who's fat and overweight and tells you how you should do something. I have a hard time, saying, why aren't you practicing what you preach? You practice what you preach. You work hard. You live the healthy lifestyle. So kind of walk through what brought you to, you were like in the championships for the Ironman races. Yeah. So I always say, like, you should, just in anything in life, you should never take advice from someone who you would not want to switch places with them.
Because if they're not where you want to be, then why would you listen to what they have to say?
Yeah.
And so I feel like as a doctor, we have a duty to be that beacon of hope, that like the ideal image of health.
Correct.
Right.
Responsible. Right?
And so part of that, we talked about how Ironman training is not healthy to do. So it's kind of this conflicting thing where I'm supposed to be doing all the right things. I would never tell my patient that if you want to be as healthy as possible, you should train for an Ironman.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, let's think about what you can do that's not good for your joints and not good for your overall health. How about you go train for an Ironman? Right? So you laugh because it's funny because it's not a healthy thing to do. However, again, that's my choice. I like doing it. I want to do it. So then that's also one of the reasons I love the Wellness Way so much is because I understand from a physiological perspective what's happening in my body when I train like that. And I'm able to say, okay, these are the things that I know are going to happen. I can run blood work and I can say, this is what's happening. This is what I expect to happen. This is where I'm at with blood work. Yeah. And then I can do other things with supplements and stuff like that to say, okay, this is bad for me, but I want to do it. So I'm going to do it anyways. So then how can I support my body best to make sure that I'm not going to burn myself out? And then I can test my blood work. And I can continue going and say, okay, this is where I need to make some changes. Let me continue pushing super hard, continue supporting myself in these areas, and then let me test my blood work.
Test your blood work.
To make sure that I'm staying healthy. And I've seen the changes in my blood work because I'm a data guy.
Yeah.
I like to see things, right? So if I'm not in a training season, I run a hormone panel, things like that every 6 months. If I'm training, I run it every 3 months. If I just want to tweak some stuff and see what happens and be my own experiment, then I'll run it. I've run my blood work 4 weeks back to back before. Just
to see if what you're doing, if it's helping or not.
Yeah.
Not having
so no sugar that you talked about. You did. I want to see how does this affect my body? And I ran my hormones before and I ran my hormones after, and my testosterone increased by 150 points.
Wow, that's what that does. For
4 weeks.
Does sugar kills your testosterone levels?
Oh yeah. And that was with no supplement. Well, I was taking supplements, but it wasn't anything different. It was diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, and then think about it. Sugar is in everything. So whether you're eating bread, you're eating potatoes, you're eating rice, all these things turn into sugar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know because when I cut the sugar out that month, I think I dropped 15 pounds in that month.
Yeah.
Just from no sugar.
And so that also goes to show, like, there's a ton of research that says that endurance runners, men specifically, will have lower testosterone levels. Yeah. There's a word for it. It's like endurance runner, low testosterone. I don't know what it is, but it's a research-driven thing. They've done these studies, and we know that endurance running depletes your testosterone. We also know that if you want to feel good, higher levels are better than lower levels. So if I know that I can do no sugar and that's going to increase my testosterone,
that offsets,
and I know that training is going to decrease my testosterone, then I know that I can manipulate my body or modulate things to help offset. Same thing with supplements.
All right.
So that's like one of the reasons I love what I do so much, because I can take what I love doing, working with athletes, being an athlete, and I can maximize the way that my body's performing during that.
So do you find a lot of your patients are, I mean, I'm not saying they're technically athletes, but they're active. Do you work with a lot of active people that are in this community and stuff like that? Yeah.
So I think by default, Florida is where active adults go to live, right? Yeah. So our community is full of a lot of active people, more so than other places. Yeah. But I also think that there's this misconception that only athletes are active, only athletes need to be treated like an athlete. But in reality, life is an athletic event. And that's what we always said. And I did my master's in chiropractic sports science. I've done a lot of exercise physiology stuff. And life is an athletic event. Think about the biggest thing that elderly people, they fall, they break their hip, 60% chance you're going to die in the next 6 weeks or 6 months. Yeah. So then if we're elderly, what if we treated an elderly person like an athlete and said, let's work on balance and coordination. Let's work on muscle strength. Let's work on all these things so that you don't fall and that isn't your demise. That's right. Or if you do, we know that your body's going to be in as good of a position as possible to heal. We'll take that impact. You have the muscle mass and whatnot. Not all of my patients are athletes in the sense that they play sports and they run and they do this stuff. They're active. But I treat everybody as if they're an athlete because everybody has some walking up the stairs, sitting up and down off the toilet. There's this baseline level of fitness we need.
where do you find people fall off? Is there an age where people tend to? I mean, I go to my, I see some kids I went to school with, and I don't think they've done anything active truly since high school. So do you find that there's like an age where people start kind of falling off that down the other end?
To be honest, I don't think it's an age. I think it's a mindset and a mentality. Okay. And unfortunately, we've been programmed, modern medicine and just our...
Take a pill, right?
It's the American culture, right? Yeah. And it's take a pill for this, take a pill for that. Let's get the easy button. I don't want to put any work in, but I want the results. And so I have people in their 20s and I have people in their 80s. And the 80-year-old's in better shape. Their numbers, their hormones look better than a 20-year-old. And it's 100% mindset. And I think as soon as you give up, you're immediately going to start going downhill. So if you want to, I always say motion is lotion.
Yeah.
So if we continue moving, if we keep our brain active, if we keep our body active, and we're supporting the things that we want to do, there's no reason that you can't continue doing it.
Forever.
And the same thing goes in reverse. If you stop doing it, imagine if you stopped eating healthy, you stopped working out, you stopped having a business and your marriage fell apart, how fast do you think your health would fall apart?
Everything would fall apart.
So
fast, like a lot faster than it goes the other way.
Yeah, and it's so easy to say, if I want to be as unhealthy as possible, you can. Everybody can name 5 things that are going to make you sick in 6 months.
Correct.
But why can't we name 5 things that are going to make us healthier in 6 months?
That's it. And I don't know why. I mean, obviously the stuff that tastes better is the stuff that isn't as good for you. But I mean, I find one thing that I've been doing is I snack on celery sticks now.
Yeah.
With a little bit of peanut butter, just enough natural peanut butter. And,
organic.
That's my treat now. And I try to stay away from sugar-free stuff, but every once in a while, if I need that sweet taste, I'll get like a sugar-free popsicles.
Yeah.
Which probably isn't the best, but it's a lot better than
depends
the alternative.
On what they're made with, yeah.
I try not to look at some things I kind of turn my back on. But let's talk about, you bought a house. I was helping you just because we're Mortgage Matters with Chris. I want to talk just a minute on real estate for a second. And I know that not in every case do I do the loan, but in your case, when you came to me, you had to do you had to go because you were just first in business, and it's tough for us in our business because you need 2 years of proof of business, right? And we all know you don't make money in the first few years, or at least on paper, right?
Or even if you do, you don't care.
Yeah,
the underwriter doesn't care.
Yeah, the underwriter don't care, right? So you have to do alternative programs where there's more money down or whatnot, and you were able to get your house through. You had an investor come in and help you, right?
Yeah, we did end up having to get a co-signer at the very
nice.
end. It was, I would say that if we had not been able to have you guiding us through that process, there's no way we would have been able to get to the finish line.
I wasn't even looking for that, but thank you.
I mean, it's when you're trying to figure things out on your own, it's so much harder than if you have someone who's an expert who can.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just, we just talked about it. I guided you in all your health stuff.
Yeah.
You guided us in that, and we would have no idea what to do. If we hadn't
it's
had
tough.
that
It's tough being in a new area, finding.
Yeah.
And so you live in Lakewood Ranch. You think when I first moved here back in the beginning of 19, it was January 19 when I first moved here. I remember. You ever see that movie, The Truman Show?
Oh yeah, multiple times. They just did that at Bayside last year.
Oh, did they do The Truman Show? I must have
last year, 2 years ago during the.
I think I missed it at Bayside, but. That's what this place feels like. I mean, you don't even find a candy wrapper on the ground. I mean, I know. I go to the gym at 5. There's guys doing the medians. Yeah. Like hedging bushes.
Oh, it's crazy. You go anywhere else and it's like, oh man, why would you want to live here?
And that's what I thought. I did the same exact thing you and Rachel did. When we first came to move down here, I was going to go to St. Pete. I already had a place on Treasure Island. I wanted to be by the beach. At first, Lakewood Ranch seemed a little bit too far away. I always thought if I moved to Florida, I got to be a walk from the beach. Like that's the deal. I want to be on a canal or on the water, one or the other. Yeah. And I want to walk to the beach. And my friend Christy, she's like, no, you're coming here. And I was already doing business here. And I kind of last minute, literally December before I moved, I changed my mind. I had a house and everything in St. Pete. I flew down here with my son. And it wasn't to that time because I came down in July, just drove around here. I didn't spend any time. I just went to Pinchers to eat, and I left. I didn't even really drive around. I'm like, it's nice, but it's still 30 minutes from the beach. Yeah. I'm like, and now we're going to St. Pete. But the second time when I came to find a place and I decided this is where we're going to be, most of my business was being originated here before I even moved. and I was able to see. I think we lived in Greenbrook first, and I felt like this like cool little village, like all the lights and all the walkways. I mean, they got like, I don't know, 500. I'm probably discounting it. I don't know, like 500 miles of trails or something crazy.
I'm sure
could be 1,000. I mean, just everywhere you go, and some of the places we go and run are through these trails through this beautiful place. I mean, for anyone that's looking to move to Florida, man, I think we have the best spot in the country. I believe. I think I mentioned it the last podcast. Tampa and St. Pete have the biggest influx of millennials and Gen Zers coming and moving here. Really? Out of anywhere in the country. It was just in the U.S. News or something. And so people love it. I mean, we're a little bit south, but our area is the biggest multi-generational community in the country. Number one. So, I mean, you got anywhere from your late to early 30s and 30s to 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, so if you have a lifestyle and you're looking to bring up kids, I mean, our schools are great.
Yeah.
I mean, and you guys will probably be starting a family soon. That's,
plan.
I mean, it's time, right? I think I have my son at 30. You're right there.
All right. Well, if Chris says so.
It's time. It's time, Connor. No, but I mean.
All right.
I had my son at 30, and then I had my daughter at 38, and it was a big difference.
Yeah. I'd like to be done by the time I'm 38.
I was like, Julie's like, I don't think we should do this. I'm like, yeah, I want a daughter though. I'm like, we got to just try one more time.
Got lucky.
I did, because I told her, your sons you're not gonna have like vacations with your sons when they're in the 30s, like sharing a hotel room. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? I mean, do you vacation with your mom? Be like, oh, we got the same room. You're gonna get your own room. No. But if you had a son or you and your dad, I was like, the boys are gonna hang out with me and do stuff. You need somebody that you can do something with.
That's really nice. You're just always thinking about Julie.
I was thinking about Julie, and then I was thinking about someday when, I'm going to be sitting on somebody's couch. My sons are probably going to let me stay on the couch. My daughter will be like, Daddy, you can stay here.
Yeah, she'll be begging. All right, so you're just looking out for yourself. And
come on. Isn't that
everyone
tunes into that station? Was it WIIFM? What's in it for me? That's what I always say. So you gotta think about it. But I was still looking out for my wife too, because my wife, she's more introverted, and I'm like, you're gonna have a best friend for life with a daughter. So, and there's a different dynamic, and you'll find that out as soon as you start having kids. You'll see the boys. I said I wanted someone I could be nice to, because my boys, you're a little tougher on your boys, right? You're making men, where your daughter, I'm like, you got to be the heavy with her, because I'm a sucker for this. This one, I can't be tough with her, but you'll see all that. So let's talk about your real estate aspirations and future plans. You and I talked. I know other people aren't talking. You're looking into really growing. Are you invested in a gym right now?
We just haven't opened yet.
Okay, so you got the gym. You're looking at commercial real estate.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about those aspirations and some of the things that you're looking to do.
Yeah, goal is just to, you talked about generations and leaving a legacy. And that's kind of what the goal is what can we start to do now to build wealth in a different way that's going to last and be substantial. So I feel like real estate is a really great route for that. Obviously I've talked to you a lot about that. I've talked to Greg about that. We've got some other influencers in our life that we allowed to speak into our life, and they've kind of guided us down that route as well. I feel like real estate gives you multiple different ways to earn money at the same time through equity appreciation and cash flow.
That's it.
So there's a lot of different avenues for that. Yep. And you're putting your money in something that is physical, that's going to be there, that you could sell. Right. And we just bought our second house, we're building our second house now, so we're going to make a house a rental. And I'm always thinking about, like you said, I'm an entrepreneurial spirit, so chiropractic is my love. It's my passion. I always want to do that. Yeah. But I don't see chiropractic being the only thing I do.
Yeah.
If it's the only thing I do, then at the end of the day, I have to wake up and I'm still an employee of my own business.
Correct.
And so all these other avenues are ways for me to, number one, just fill my entrepreneurial cup up and keep myself young and active and thinking in all these different areas.
I know it.
But my wife has a very creative side as well. She loves designing houses. And so part of that is that can be her creative outlet to buy
more real estate so she can do the stuff inside.
Kind of like what Julie does. Yeah.
Exactly
Flip,
what Julie does.
Design Airbnbs, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy. You can have all the passion in the world, but if you do something all day, every day, you'll eventually get burnt out from it. So part of it is because we really want to do that. It's also partly because we want to help to grow our wealth and have things for our kids. We want to be able to not have to go to work every day and be able to take our kids on vacations and trips and do stuff.
Yeah.
I just said this morning to someone else, I think youth is wasted on the young. I think that's an old adage.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to travel and have freedom and do things while we're younger. And so building that passive income is really important to us.
I think it's important because that's part of, I think, that whole encompassing health, if you will, is balance, right? And I think I missed the mark a lot. I don't have any regrets. I really don't have regrets, so to speak. But if I look back in my younger years, I focused a lot on work. I did pretty good with the kids, like meaning I did the coaching stuff. But I think I probably would have spent more time because, and I'm seeing it now. I'm going to explain it to you and the way that my perception is of it, because now that I have two boys pretty much out of the house, that 18 years goes by quick, in a snap of a dime. And you look back at all those little things that you might have missed or you didn't do. And I think the metrics is you spend 90% of your time with your kids the first 18 years. Yeah. 10% the rest. So do the math.
Yeah, I saw a really thing about that drove home. There was your parents are older and you now don't live with them and you go home for holidays, and it's in 20 years you have Thanksgiving and Christmas you travel home for. So in 20 years you're going to see your parents 40 more times.
That's it. You got the math. It's sobering, right? When you think about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then you're thinking about it from the standpoint of your parents. Well, so but you get what I mean. So that hurts. Yeah. I think of the same thing, but it hurts a lot less when you think of it in my shoes now as a parent. Yeah. Did I miss the mark? Did I miss all that time? I should have been, spend the time I had, because the time's gone. And I think I did a really good job over the last 4 years, but I think that has a lot to do with your mental health down the road, because I'm not going to have a lot of regrets. I worked hard the first bunch of years they were born, but then I kind of reset probably in 2010, 11. My son was probably 5 or 6. And I said, listen, I can't miss stuff. I'm going to straighten myself out. And I went through 3 more years of hard stuff, meaning I was in Africa for 3 years. So I was gone a lot of the time. And I missed pretty much from 6 to 9. I missed out of those three years. I probably missed a year and a half out of it because I was out of the country for that time. And after that, I said, never again from this point on. I'm here. I'm present. We put our phones away at dinner. We did all those little things, and I just made sure I was present when I was present. Not, I got to take this phone call, do this, do that. And I think as a young entrepreneur, that would be my advice to you or anybody, because you work with your wife. I'll tell you, it just revisited a lot of different things last week on my last episode, which was talking to Julie, kind of remembering some of the things in the journey we went through. Is, we go home, we're working, because your work is kind of your life.
That's the downside. Yeah.
Right. And it's really, how do you separate that time? If myself today could go back and revisit myself at 30, those would probably be some of the things that I say is listen, create your date night once a week, no matter what, unless it's an emergency, shut down at 7 or whatever time it is that makes the most sense, and focus on a relationship with the people in your house. So that's and you're at that stage where you're just starting it out. You're just starting that journey. You're gung-ho. I remember how old are you today?
I just turned 31 last
31.
month.
I was going to say 30. I didn't want to rob you of a year. Rob you a year. But that's when my wife and I at 30 we got married at 30. We were already working together for 3 years prior to that. But when we got married, I had 80 people working for me. it was complete mayhem. I mean, we worked around the clock, and then that year my son was born, so it was just like bang bang. I mean, I had a pack and play in my office, which I could see your office being like my office is like a family atmosphere. And it was like my son was tossed around the office all day. People were working.
Thinking about who in the office is going to be our babysitter.
Right, because I didn't want to send him off to, and then he got to a point, I think when he was like 2, it was like, all right, this kid is too mobile at this point. We gotta plug him into something. And we had a gymnastics daycare place right from our office, so it was nice. It was like right there, nice. And we were able to kind of grab him right after. But I think, you know, for you, my words of wisdom from somebody who is pretty much a lot like you, or you're a lot like me too, is focus on some of those things, because you can get, I look back, nobody cares. Like nobody cared about what I was doing then. The people that really care are the people that are in your life, like right now. You know what I mean? Those are the people that are going to be there. I look at half the people that were in my life back then, I don't even know who they are. I don't know what they're doing. And you know what? You always worry about everyone else. Focus on that, I think, is would be my words of advice. But in closing, I want you to kind of mention where you are, where you're located, or any last words of lifestyle or anything you want to add to this, because this is your time to shine.
Oh man. Put me on the spot after that dad moment.
I just had a dad moment. I was like, I don't want to start crying, so I'm like, that happens every once in a while.
Put it over to me now. Yeah, our offices, like you said, we're just south of Lakewood Main Street, really just right across University Parkway on the east side of 75. My biggest thing is just everybody's at a different place in their health journey. Everybody can start taking steps. I talk to a lot of my patients about health goals, and I help walk people through their health journey a lot. And so some people are at a point where things are so bad that they need a lot of help and a lot of support, but not everybody's like that. So I would say, number one, don't let yourself get to that point. And the other thing that people struggle with is getting overwhelmed. It's easy to look at, you know, you want to be this person, but right now you're this person over here, and it seems so far to get to that point. And it's all about baby steps, giving yourself grace, being patient, and understanding that it's going to take time. The biggest thing is you just have to take action. You have to do something. So I always tell people, you may not be the person who can run a marathon, but you're the person who can get off the couch and you can go for a walk.
Correct.
And maybe you can't get off the couch, but you're the person who can use a walker to stand up. And if you can use a walker to stand up once, you can do it twice, and you can do it 3 times. And so don't get discouraged because you're not the person right now who can achieve the goal that you want. Just think about, are you the person that can take the next step? And if you can take the next step to get here and grow yourself in that aspect, then are you going to be the person that can take the next step again? And take action. And so for some people, it can seem so daunting. They just don't know what that next step is. And that's where we can come in and be helpful and guide you in what those steps look like. If you know what the next step is, then take the next step. Don't be afraid to take it. And sometimes it can be as simple as saying, this is what my goal is. Start with the goal and the end in mind.
Correct.
If you want to lose 52 pounds, don't think about how overwhelming it is to lose 52 pounds.
First 5.
Think about how that's 1 pound a week. What do you have to do to lose 1 pound a week? You have to lose 0.2 pounds every day for 5 days. What do you have to do to lose 0.2 pounds? You have to get up and go for a 10-minute walk or a 20-minute. So when it seems like an overwhelming goal, but when you start to break it down, you don't have to be the person that loses 52 pounds. You have to be the person who went for a 20-minute walk every day at lunch for a week and was able to lose a pound. And the next week you can do the same thing.
And it'll be 2.
So that's my biggest kind of guide is segment things, take action, plan your life out to meet your goals.
You guys have anything that you want, any special like that for people to entice people to come in?
Yeah, so our new patient appointment, we do a new patient special for people who find us on social media and through ads and things like that. It's $149. What that covers is a 40-minute consult with the doctor where we'll sit down and we'll talk about what's been going on in your life. What are your symptoms? What are you dealing with? What's happened that's led us to this point? We'll look over any previous labs and stuff that you've had, because a lot of our people come in with whole binders full of books of labs. they've had a ton of stuff run, but the people who ran the testing just aren't looking at it the right way, or they missed pieces, or they looked at it the right way, but they did the wrong thing afterwards. So we'll take a look at labs that you've had done in the past. If we need more testing, more labs, more things like that, we'll make recommendations on that visit. We'll also take x-rays. We'll take a look at your spine, get a goal or understanding what's been going on physically. We can see inflammation in the body and things like that. We'll make those recommendations, and then we'll go over your x-rays with you. We'll talk about what's going on. And our biggest goal is we just want to help you put together a plan.
That's it.
So the first step to get started is that 149 new patient, sit down, have a 40-minute conversation, and we'll kind of walk you through what that plan looks like. And then we'll meet you where you're at and help you get on that journey.
And go take the next steps. I mean, myself personally, for me, it's always been a lifestyle for me to try to stay ahead of the curve. Both of my grandfathers died early, heart disease. So I always knew, like, I got an uphill battle to make sure, like, I keep my heart health right. And if you're like, most people that are watching this, as long as you start someone, the hardest thing is to take the first step, is usually. Once you take that first step, and then you repeat it the next day, it's when you're out of it, that's the hardest part, to take that first step. So I encourage
80% of the energy is in the first 20% of the movement.
That's it. So I encourage you guys that are watching, if you want to meet a great couple, great doctors. I mean, I'm promoting you because I go there and I love it. It's been, I don't know where I would be if I wouldn't have fixed some of the stuff that I went through last year. I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm not going to be able to, I read a lot and I try to figure things out, but same as you with a mortgage, you come to me, ask me questions. I don't know what I don't know. I can go try to hunt for it, but why wouldn't I go to the expert? Or the guy who studies it, who's been studying it for 12 years or 13 years, that lives it and breathes it, sleeps it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks a ton, man. Thanks for everything you do for me. And I don't think I'm ever going to catch you on any of these triathlons.
That's a goal.
It's a goal. It's a lofty one, but
it's my goal to not let you catch me.
But I will encourage you to stay as in good a shape as I am when you get to my age.
Well, that's right. I got to get to your age before we find out how fast I am.
I know. All right. Well, I appreciate you, Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. If you guys could like my page, right? Like me, follow me, share it. We love shares, and we really want to get some good things out there in our community here. If you have a great topic you want to talk about, I would love to have you on for a guest. Private message me, whether you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think we're on Instagram, and we're also on TikTok. We're on all of them. So hit me up. Would love to talk to you. Love to hear your story. If you have something good to share. And again, Connor, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
It's been a blast.
Thank you. All right.